I can't tell the guys they were allowed to start. So you know what? We're off. We're away. Let's do this. In the bottom right-hand side, we've got the blue Terran player. It is souL from Cascade. He is taking on the red Zerg. In the top left-hand side, of course, he needs no introduction, but it is ENCE Esports Serral. As we get off and away into our first game of the tournament of HomeStory Cup. Give me a sec, guys. A couple of things on the overlay maybe need slightly adjusting again. I kind of want to have my WardiTV logo on the screen somewhere, but maybe we just move it down here. That works, actually. There we go. That's a little bit better. Perfect. Alrighty, so that should be good. Oh no, now I've just realized that there's something else in the way. Gosh darn it. Everything's in the way. You know what? It's so crazy, but like making adjustments to like your usual streaming stuff. It's like when you get new overlays, you'd think it'd be really simple. You just move a couple things around and everything starts working. Absolutely not the case. Alright. I feel like that's good. We have to roll with it as we get ready to kick this off. And just going to be seeing where things are going to take us for our very first game of the day. souL and Serral. I mean, this is a classic matchup, right? I mean, Serral practices with souL. You know, there's memes about this matchup. There's these practice partners. The thing is, every time souL plays Serral, I feel like we get some like decently long games and stuff gets intriguing for like 10 to 15 minutes, and then Serral's just like, oh, by the way, though, I am still Serral, right? You're not meant to beat me. And then he just kind of, you know, outnumbers souL and outplays him a little bit, and that's generally just how the game goes from that kind of point. So yeah, excited to see what was brought to the table here by souL today, to see if he can maybe try and steal a series off Serral. I mean, that'd be fantastic. What a way to start a group that also hosts Estrella and Armani. It's not an easy group, really, right? I think obviously Serral comes in big favor, but you look at the rest of the group, and honestly, Estrella, Armani, souL, you know, any of these guys could get out. They're all good enough to be in the round of 16. Beautiful SCV block here. Gets himself the drone kill. Nicely handled. As the Reaper changes or chases up the Lings. Up to the high ground. And just going to be putting a little bit of damage out. Zergling speed is on the way in from Serral. And just going to be seeing the Queen on the way up from Serral as well. So again, this Queen underway. Starport is building from souL in the main base. Let me just get this ready to go. Yeah, guys, I've just realized the logo is now in the way of the freaking upgrades. This is because I don't use this UI very often. I've got no idea where to put it. You know what? Let's just turn it off. That's fine. That's fine too. I'm just trying to make things work. And I've already had like a pretty ridiculous, crazy morning. Now let's just turn this off as well. Let's just remove all the stuff we don't necessarily need. Perfect. Alright, let's continue then, as we do have Overlord speed is coming up. And just going to be seeing the souL Reaper still kind of, you know, having a good time, having killed a drone, delayed the third base a little bit. Always good news. So now you've seen the two Hellions and the Reaper up to the top side. They're going to go poking around, trying to see if there's any openings or possibilities. Obviously, you just want to try and control the creep spread a little bit. We do see Cloak on the way with the Viking building, so maybe a little bit of a fake out here as Serral scouts in, but the stim starts straight after. Now, you didn't see stim starting, but you see the tech lab on the racks already. Maybe that's something that Serral will re-scout, right? With Overlord speed, you expect him to go back in and pick up on that information all over again. Of course, Serral always enjoying this Overlord speed opening, making sure he isn't going to be caught off guard by anything. Serral, I think, really stands by the idea of, if I just get into the later stage of the game, I'm going to be in a comfortable position. So he always likes to open with this scouting ability, making sure he's not going to be caught off guard by anything, right? If you're making sure you're not going to be killed off by a Hellbat attack you didn't see coming, you don't have roaches ready for, you don't have the Baling Nest down. That can't happen in theory if you have the perfect scouting information. So he makes that investment most games, and to be fair, I think souL kind of, you know, knows about that in a way as well, right? I feel like he plays around that. He doesn't try anything funky. He just plays a pretty standard build. You know, 3cc, not super quick, but kind of, you know, a little bit later on. Still 3cc though, as we see Cloak start up again. The Banshee actually hit off to the side. Now, he actually started Cloak again here, so he cancelled Cloak at first. That was expected, I think, with the Viking on the way. Then he actually made a Banshee. Now he's actually going to start Cloak again. So, if I'm Serral, I actually don't really know what's going on, because it's been kind of a wild affair. I'm not sure if he actually managed to glimpse the Banshee that did pop out. But if he did manage to catch that, that'd be interesting. That was a misplay. Kills his own Reaper to try and kill a creep tumor, but he didn't have enough damage to kill a creep tumor, which is... It's weird because I don't know if he already had damage on it, but usually it's 6 Hellions and a Reaper shot as the magic number to one-shot a creep tumor. So if you only go with 5 Hellions hitting the Reaper, I'm not sure what he expected, unless he thought the Reaper was going to be much tankier than that. Either way, that was obviously just sacrificing the Reaper for no real gain. Hellions pull it back just a little bit. The Overlord of Serral pulling back through the top side as well. And a couple more Evolution Chambers continuing down on this natural expansion. So bringing this up into play. I'm just going to be seeing again a few Hellions still maintaining the middle of the map. Now here come the Banshees. And let's see what the damage they can do is going to be. I like Serral's expansion pattern as well. Let's talk about that in a moment. Let's follow the Banshees for the moment. As we go in towards this main base. So Queen's coming in from the left, Queen's coming in from the right. I mean, perfect defense. Overseer there as well, just in case these Banshees get pushed back via this 4th base. The 4th coming up the top side of the map. It's interesting because I feel like when Lightshade first came around, this expansion pattern was never really a thing. For the fact that the Terrans just would push up this top side, they can take a high ground position and push down into the low ground with it and really kind of have a good time pushing into the base there. You know, obviously we see so much of the time attacks on this left-hand side, but as time has developed and, you know, the Terrans expand to the left, it actually doesn't make too much, you know, sense to actually go left side as well. You'd much rather go top, that actually expands away from the Terran player, rather than over here, which more so expands toward him. And this position is not exactly great either, right, to start off with. Like, there are tank positions here that can be utilized as well. And Serral is going to drop a hatchery here too, so he will take his 5th base. I mean, where else is the 5th base going to go? It can't go over here. That is actually souL's base, right? I mean, if you're taking this base, you're actually just trying to make a mockery of your opponent. So souL is not on that level just yet. As you see, the Fuelings continue to nibble their way through the rocks, and that's another Overlord kill out on the left-hand side. You know, for not a lot happening in the game, I don't really mind it for souL, right? Usually when you see a game as passive as this one, you're like, well, this isn't brilliant. souL's actually killed off a Dropper-Lord as well. As that wasn't just a normal Overlord, it was a Dropper-Lord. Maybe looking to be aggressive, but that's actually really cool, right? Because that's the sort of thing which this Baneling drop would have been fantastic. You know, annoy souL coming in at a weird timing. One of the benefits of having the Overlord speed early in the game, you may as well make use of it. I like what souL's doing. Like I say, he's getting a lot of damage without being overly aggressive. He lost the Hellions, but other than that, it's been pretty good for him. Now he's going to have this Banshee spotting the Ling Bane on the bottom side, so the essence of the kind of surprise run-by is taken away from you. And again, those 2 Banshees just going to chase those Banes away. So for now, no pressure on the map from Serral either. So we kind of do go later into this game with the, well, Infestation Pit down, the Hydralisk Den building, and this should just be a Hive and Lurker Den in tandem to make sure we can go into that Lurker stage of the game that we see so typically coming out as the next kind of portion of this kind of Ling Bane heavy style nowadays. It's funny how it kind of developed, right? But we did used to see kind of pure Ling Bane into Ultras. We saw that a little bit yesterday in some games we were casting. But what really is kind of so heavily used nowadays is this kind of Ling Bane, stay on Ling Bane for a while, and then big switch into Lurkers. So you never really utilize the Hydralisks. You know, you don't use those as a mid-game army. You don't upgrade for them or anything. You actually just use them as a, you know, a way into... You just go straight to Lurkers, basically. You make like 10 Hydras, you make 10 Lurkers. And, you know, maybe later on you actually had a few more Hydras into play, but it's really interesting how that dynamic kind of played around, because a lot of people, I think, even if, you know, 3 or 4 months ago probably would have said, well, of course, you just play Ling Bane Hydra, then you make your Lurkers. That's really not what this does anymore, and it really keeps you safer. A lot of Ling Bane on the map obviously really can overwhelm. It can give you a lot of presence on the map. Something which Ling Bane Hydra, which is a bit of a slower composition compared to just pure Ling Bane, obviously. You just don't get that. These Widowmine shots have been great from souL, by the way. Multiple Widowmines connecting in on decent chunks of Ling Bane. Really having a good time connecting on those, you know, armies so far. There's now a bit of Ling Bane out on the bottom side. It's going to be seen again. More Ling Bane still hanging around, and it's again the counterattack potential in a couple different directions. It's always going to be a little bit frustrating to deal with. So let's see as we do see this attack going to be lifted up. At the same time, we've got Widowmines up here getting 6 drone kills. So we do see some damage being done. It's all going to burrow up one more, but I mean, lost mining time as well. Got to be thought about here, right? So nice to see souL being the one getting some damage. And again, Serral's not really found a successful run by yet. Without any anti-air on the map like the mutas or anything, We've not seen these Banshees be cleaned up at all, so they're just sat here really controlling this entire pathway, which is crazy when you think about it. Like, this entire counterattack path, which is so often used by Zerg, you've seen Serral try to use it multiple times, it's actually being shut down by these two scouting Banshees, essentially. And now finally some Queens come forward, and that might be the end of the Banshees, but boy did they do a good job of holding out this bottom side. With those falling, it might just open the path through the bottom and into this base that Serral has been looking for many a time in this game. So he might finally have that as souL. Using more tanks, 2 Liberators. I mean, this is an army composition right now which he's building into, which is just becoming more and more defensive. He is just already set to slow this game down, build Ghost, Liberator, nukes, and all the rest of it, and just go from there. As you see a few Hydras out, we actually don't see them morph into Lurkers yet because there's no Seismic Spines just yet, so waiting on that Seismic Spines before Lurkers come into play. 8-range Lurkers just aren't really that good, so you don't see them a lot of the time. That Ling is just going to get there in time. That's so annoying. That was actually like a second before the command center landed. It gets here, it burrows. That's just going to force a scan, right? I mean, just a little bit of energy down the drain. Okay, souL, he's probably pretty healthy on money. He's got more orbitals on the way up. I don't think it's the end of the world, obviously, but it's just the little things, right? That split second costs you 1 extra scan. And of course, when you're playing against Serral, you'd kind of like to have as much as physically possible. Now, the Vipers come in, and we actually see them abducting the Liberators, so taking those out of the equation to begin with. SCVs were pretty quick to escape. Widowmine cleans up a bunch of the Banes. 12 SCVs down, but it wasn't a cheap trade for Serral. He loses quite a lot of units, and even some Hydras on the trade out here. At the end, the Ling Bane turns around, so it's like, well, I'm kind of overstimmed right now. I need to be careful about that. Yeah, Knights from the Vipers to get rid of the Liberators there, because the Hydra count was not very high. So if you let the Liberators kind of stick around, they're going to stay around pretty much forever. The Hydra count will start dropping, and then Libs just basically get free damage throughout the entirety of the fight. So while it's really tempting to negate the big splash damage of the siege tanks, I think actually removing the Liberators from their position was a much more valuable thing to find in that quick moment, which is really nice. Now, the Vipers did go down bar the 1, so there is some value in that trade from souL as well. You look at resources lost, it's okay for souL, 8.4 to 11.1k, right? You know, it's where you're meant to be. Obviously, at some stage, you'd start to like trading a little bit better, but remember that this game has been extremely passive in general, right? In that regard, there's only so efficient that souL can be when this was like the first major fight of the game. This fight's a lot better. Tanks covering Balins from the left-hand side. He does lose the upper right base. He's already got a new command center flying over, though, right? And that's what we see in this TVZ later stage of the game so often. You go kind of these back-and-forth trades where the Zerg is basically going to trade badly into your economy, but because he's trading into your economy, he's denying the economy, and he's making it so that it's manageable. And the whole fight for the Terran players to really sustain 5-6 bases. And if you can sustain 5 or 6 bases, it becomes a very winnable game, just because of how efficient your army typically starts to trade. I think there's a lot to be said for Serral now. A couple of fights deep is still only about 3,000 resources lost behind. That really kind of states how this game is going right now. And souL, he does start to get the 5th base up. Here's the interesting part for Serral right now, right? This is every base of the map that he's taken is the base that he's meant to have. So if he doesn't get beyond this and souL keeps on expanding, that's where Serral gets into trouble. Vipers dodge the EMP, so the first Ghost that's in the front goes for no real reason. Oh, those tanks getting blinding cloud last second, and now I see a few Ghosts going down as well. Couple Ghosts left. The Vipers still have some energy. Ghosts don't find any last-minute snipes. A Lurker just shows up behind this mineral line. souL does start to deal with it pretty quickly, but I mean, it's still just annoying from Serral as he gets that Lurker denied. It's just the little things, right? There's never one thing going on in the map at a time. It's always you attack in this way, and then at the same time, you've got something else happening. That's how you pull players apart, and that's what gives Serral so much success in these engagements as well, because souL can't just ever fully focus on the one big fight. He's also got to focus on not losing 20+ workers to the Lurker in the upper right corner of the map, because if that happens, you're going to have an absolute disaster. Ling Bane still coming around through the top side with the Hydras as well. They start making their way down on towards this tank. Plant before is blinding clouded, and souL says, okay, have to give this up, and that's not good, because now again your 5th base is down. This is what Serral lives for in this game, right? I mean, he is still trading pretty much as evenly as he has been throughout the game, just 3,000 resource loss difference, so all of these trades have been even for him, and again, kind of express just how good that is for a Zerg player, who is obviously at this stage on 7 bases against the 4 base Terran, keeping the Terran away from a 5th. And you've got a Zergling down here, so you have perfect notifications of exactly when your opponent tries to go into another base, so you know when you need to change the direction of attack from the right-hand side, more so to the bottom side. I think it's also worth talking about the lurkers. We've not really seen a lot of them. And I think it's because souL was just already setting up to fight lurkers. Ghost won the way quickly, right? We saw the Liberate account building up early. Tanks were very defensively placed, and Serral said, right, well, you know what's actually a little bit better than lurkers in these scenarios? If I just throw even more Lingbane Hydra at you, right? Because Lingbane Hydra is like, it's just a swarm of lower tech units, but if he doesn't feel like the lurkers are going to find any value because of the units souL has, why bother building them? He's just built a couple for harassment purposes. I mean, how many did you lose this game? 2? There's been 1 in each mineral line, the 2 that we've seen, right? So he has full access to the lurkers. Just doesn't feel like he actually needs it just yet, as Ling's going to try and cancel this base up the right-hand side. So losing workers again. Casting this game, and obviously in the background, Serral is just slowly amassing a huge bank. 5k, 3.5k, currently up for grabs for him to spend in the end. You got 11 more Banes coming through, extra Corruptors on the way out, +1 Flyer Carapace on the Spire, and the +2 Flyer attacks on the... is that Grey Spire as well? It is. So just in case you want to go into these Broodlords, that's 100% an option here. Again, souL is just really stuck for money because of the way this game is going. He's not traded efficiently enough to stop Serral from building up that bank. He just can't find the right fights, really. I mean, credit to Serral being able to find efficient trade after efficient trade, you know, in a game like this one. When the Terran was set up so defensively, when he's had so many units in position, Liberator Siege, tanks sieged up, Widow Mines pre-split. We go to the bottom side. This planetary is not going to last a second as it's just going to go down. No lift on it as well from souL. Not sure it makes a difference, really. Maybe the Hydras would have got there and just killed it off anyway. Maybe it forces the Hydras to stick around a moment longer, but he was obviously elsewhere doing other things. Now, he does at least get the upper right up. So by double expanding or attempting to double expand, he's at least made it more difficult for serral to just straight up deny one position, and that's all he has to do. So now serral going to try and deny 2, but the planetary actually deals with that pretty well, to be honest, and Widow Mines defend the other side, so souL at least does get a 5th base up. And again, if souL can maintain himself in this game and slowly take 1 base at a time, that's still okay for him, because we are in a position where you look at resources lost and he still is in the lead. So as long as he eventually gets to mine each and every one of his bases, that's still okay for souL. If he mines out his side of the map and serral mines out his, the current way things are going is not very quick, but it will go in souL's favor. The problem is surviving that long to mine basically this entire base, then to lift up and to mine this entire base, then to lift up and mine this entire base. That's what happens, right? It's so difficult to hold 2 bases at once against serral. You basically go base by base as this nuke gets cancelled, the Lings get on top of it. But he's starting to get there, right? Like, the Liberator count is here, the Lurkers get pushed away right now. We finally see a higher Lurker count in the game, so serral sort of decides to move away from just pure Lingbane Hydra. Brings those Lurkers back into the action. And again, a few creep tumors being picked away. I was going to see more Bane, Viper, Lurker moving and into an intriguing position. This is just like between all the bases of souL. It's one of those scenarios where it's like, it doesn't feel like you should ever attack here, but actually, you know, if souL is just busy like, oh, I'm on the far left, I'm on the top right, this is the weak point, right? This is the weaker position, as that's an abduct on the Ghost for cheeky little kill. Vipers, so sorry, Lurkers show up on the bottom side here. Gonna put some damage out and try and get rid of more of these SCVs. A couple Widow Mines come over and they're not gonna be doing too well. So they go down pretty quickly. It's just going to be seeing Liberator. Sieges up again. The Bane's going to back away. Actually, I mean, it's only a Viper here. So that's a problem. Where's the... I think the nuke just got denied. No, the nuke's over here on the natural expansion. And he's actually going to nuke this hatchery to pretty low HP. He's now going to change the nuke position to the right side base. But he knows where this Ghost is. So serral comes in. He's going to deny it. You know, for a few moments here, souL's going to feel rich, because he actually has 2 fresh bases of income for a few seconds as the Ghost keeps serral back. And dare I say, he may actually get to keep this base a while longer. Serral going to rotate up and around the top side of the map now. So all of these Lurkers are going to make their way through the top. Going to go to the upper right, and potentially again down into this planetary fortress. Scanning around, just taking a moment for a breather as we do see the Lurkers burrowing up, and that's a planetary which is in a lot of trouble. It's going to go bye-bye. So planetary falls now, a couple of final Lurkers moving through as well. A couple of SCVs get chased away. Missile turret gets taken down. And you just see another nuke lining up on the top side. So nuking around up on this top side, we do see the lurkers. I mean, they're probably going to go down right as the Liberator siege up on top of them. All of these lurkers go down just like that. We're going to be seeing enhanced shockwaves just finishing up, plus one vehicle plating coming through. The ghosts continue to pop out as well, rallying up and across the map. I love this ghost. Drop a snipe on this Viper, man. Yeah, that's free. That's free Vipers. He gets 2 of them. Nice. Let's go. Amazing. Free stuff for souL, and he'll take that. Look at souL's bank. It's actually starting to get somewhere, you know? It's actually starting to get somewhere, I say. And then I actually glanced at Serral's bank again, and I wish I had, and that number makes me dizzy. Serral is about to hit 20,000 resources in the bank. Like, that is the problem, right? souL has just never done anything on Serral's side, but again, the idea is he's just going to slowly trade out with Serral's army and slowly take his own bases, and again, effectively, just both of them are going to end up mining out this map. Serral is going to get to a point, though, and this is something you don't often see, where he's actually going to be mined out. So what he can do is sacrifice a ton of drones, maybe add on some static defense as well, and his army supply is going to be massive. And that will be a problem for souL, who is obviously going to have less SCVs of his own at some stage here, and that's typically what you see. Hold that thought, a little fight over here. Lurker's going to pounce forward and do a little bit further, as it's a lot of Marauders down here as well, though, as they split up to try and minimize Lurker damage. souL loses a lot out on this bottom side and rebuilding. Going to take a few moments. He's got the Ghost showing up now. He needs to get some big snipes off on these Lurkers. He gets a couple Overseers, but there's a lot more Overseers where those ones came from, so a couple Overseer snipes immediately isn't going to do too much. Hey, this nuke nearly landed, actually. It's just going to be a little shy. Oh my god, the 2 drones that are left in the gases actually get into the extractors, which is kind of amazing, right? Just able to hide away and able to survive that. You're going to be seeing another scan out on the left-hand side. Liberator coming up, a couple more ghosts coming into play still. Another hatchery in the upper right-hand corner once again. As an orbital command, planetary fortress, everything continues to build. On the upper right side of this, Banelings are on the way once again from Serral. Going to come rallying down to this bottom side to get set up. As these 2 lurkers rotate around to the right, we're going to be seeing a couple of SCVs already starting to fall, and again, just denying mining up here. souL's done a great job of keeping the mining on the bottom, though, right? For how many times this upper right base has been denied, delayed, and all the rest of it, the bottom left has been much safer. You know, souL, I don't think, has actually had to remove this planetary. I think, obviously, initially getting it up was a bit slow, but once it's gotten up, it's really not gone anywhere. You'll see a few snipes coming down. He's actually sniping Banelings, which is questionable, I want to say. Not sure how much success you're going to have with it. Serral says, man, I've got a lot of money. What if I build some infestors? So, improving his army as well is obviously something you want to go for. A few infestors can go a long way. A couple fungals can be a massive efficient use of resources. Looking at resource efficiency again, 4K difference between the 2 of them, so souL is still, maintaining that slight advantage. Which again works if he ends up mining out his side of the map himself. There's a ton of Vikings here, which I think is also just saying, no, you do not get to go Broodlords in this game, mate. You do not get to just build Broods. Like, that's just not a thing, okay? So make sure you don't, because I'm watching you. If you make Broodlords, they're going to get shot down, okay? Another big run by upper right. Actually gets rid of the planetary fortress, and we'll get rid of this orbital. So souL loses this position a little bit. What he needs to do, more than anything, is actually just take this base as well. So what happens is, right now, if souL doesn't hold this base, is he can at least mine out this base, and then he can fully focus on the top side. The problem is, once he focuses on the top side, it's going to be fully about defense. Because by the time he gets fully focused on the top side, this base is going to be dead. So then where else does he go? There's nowhere for him to really push to. And that's why I think he's positioned down here right now. Because he wants to try and be aggressive while also providing the possibility of defending, a base at the moment, right? Everything's still hanging out on the left-hand side. You see Marines moving up the right and picking off some more creep jammers, and it's going to see some Link Bane going to start rolling on into this upper right-hand base. Marines dropping down. Bane's trying to find their way through. I mean, a few of these SCVs in trouble. There's nothing to fight the Liberator off, but Liberator is obviously not going to be enough damage output. I like that Soul just has a few Marines here that were trying to save stuff but just aren't able to. Snipes a couple of pains, that's a little bit of an overkill in the sniping, but gets the job done. Nice Widow Mines. Oh, Fungal Growth from behind. Somehow misses the Ghost, and the Medevac is able to evacuate a bunch out. Now he just landed in EMPs on all of the Infestors. That's kind of a big deal. Serral's supply has just plummeted as Soul wins a fight. 26 minutes into the game, Serral is going to have to dip his fingers into the piggy bank here. Now, fortunately, it's a pretty fat piggy bank. 12k, 9k still sat there. Is he lava starved? He only has 9 lava. Serral can't max out because he doesn't have the lava to max out. Losing a hatchery. Okay, I mean, there's a couple thousand gas still on this base, a couple thousand minerals as well. I mean, this is actually a big deal. If Soul actually can mine this, it's resources that go in his favor. That really, obviously, you know, in Serral, you never want the Terran to, to actually mine from your side of the map. Because Serral can't actually spend his money right now, we're actually in a position where Soul's able to mine from the upper right as well during this, because Serral just doesn't have the units at the moment to do anything about it. That is an unfortunate moment for somebody to lag out. Indeed. D. Gives us a moment. It's a classic HomeStory Cup, isn't it? Alright, moment or two then as we'll get resumed into Serral Soul. As, again, what's up everybody? Thank you for joining us today here on the Stay at Home Story Cup. I'm the B stream for today and tomorrow. Bring you guys any of the additional action that doesn't make it onto the mainstream. So we've got 4 groups today. We've got 2 groups tomorrow. There'll be longer groups tomorrow, best of 5 instead of best of 3. And that is our, that's our game plan. That's our match order. So, again, if you want to know who's in each group, !B, or I have the players in the groups on our stream listed on the bottom side of the screen as well, scrolling through, so you guys can check in on that as you like. Those are going to be the players we cover today. The only thing to note is that not every match from groups gets casted. More or less, we cast every series apart from the first series of each group plays at the same time. So, for example, right now, Astrea and Armani are playing each other at the same time as this series is ongoing. I believe that right now, just a quick update, is 1-0 in favor of Astrea. So those are the only matches that won't get broadcast. The initial matches in the group will go 2 at a time, just for the simple fact of making it a little bit easier of a day. 20 best of 3s versus 16 best of 3s. You know, 16's already a lot, right? Alright, well, top right, and Serral makes an attack to actually deny a base, and I think that's really important. Serral's money is going down. He's got Broodlord and Fester now, by the way, on this left side. Soul's just kind of given up on the left side push. I mean, he did deny this base. Now he comes up here to try and secure this base. He's about to land an orbital here, but I'd much rather see this command center go and become a planetary. Unless he's just going to camp out of this position, but that's going to sacrifice this bottom right, bottom left, sorry, which has, again, a couple thousand minerals and a couple thousand gas. It's not really the kind of base you want to give up on. Now, he is going to start pushing this top side, but like I say, once you start focusing up here, by the time this happens, this base is basically mined out anyway. Serral might still want to defend this position because there's actually going to be an Ultralisk cavern here. He's going to have to cancel Chitinous Plating, so if you wanted to make Ultras, that plan is going to be delayed. Soul is not going to take a good fight down here. He just gets outnumbered, so not sure what the real goal was there for Soul. I mean, as he moves up, he is going to deny hatcheries, and we have just been talking about a lava problem, which, you know, if Serral was to lose a whole bunch of stuff right away, like right now, you would have a lava problem again. Only 15 in the bank. It seems like a lot, right? But when you consider that, you know, you're going to have to rebuild with 7k, 6k, maybe not so much. Man, Soul is actually so close to making this almost work out, but look what just happened. He just took some bad fights, and it's just cost him his... Oh my god, Banes are going to jump on this as well. Let's see. Okay, Serral backs away. The resources lost for a few moments there was dead even, and that's not what Soul wants to see, because, again, if it is dead even, you have to mine out every scrap of what's on the map, and taking this base again down here might be a problem. And now Serral's maybe going to try and take this base for himself to get a little bit of a resource advantage in the game. You know, this fight right now is going to be huge. The Serral's army, 140 army supply, because he just doesn't need the drones anymore because he's mining out the map. Fester gets obliterated by Liberators. Oh, I mean, it's not an easy position to attack into. EMP trades for Fungal. Wing Bane wants to come in from the top side of this. No planetary here is really going to hurt. That would have just been such a nice addition, right? Just a little bit of extra splash going in on this. Vikings going to start firing. A couple of ghosts get some snipes, and actually the Vikings, they actually flew through a Liberator that was parasitic bomb, so they took a bunch of splash damage themselves. Yeah, souL does not have a way to deny this base over here at the moment. And now Liberators are going to get abducted in. Resources lost is slipping into Serral's favor. Again, you've got to give credit to Serral for the fact that throughout the entirety of this game, he traded so well with the Terran. Right? I mean, if he wasn't able to trade this well, the way that souL played this, there's absolutely scenarios where the Zergs absolutely run out of stuff like 5-10 minutes ago, and they're just running out of money already because they just kind of throw too much ineffectively into the Terran. But souL has not been able to find the efficient trades that we sometimes see, and I see a defensive nuke being placed. Might actually push the spores back, which is nice. Create a little bit of space for yourself here. serral moves back, does not sit in that position. Nuke lands, actually hurts a little bit. Man, I cannot stress just how big it is that Serral mines this bottom side base. This little bit of extra resources, which again, it's not just money in his bank, it's money that will never get into souL's bank account, right? And that's the big problem. Because now, souL has to find a way to trade efficiently once again. This is the kind of move which, as a Zerg, usually be like, oh my god, it's going to save him a bit. But in this case, it's just going to kill souL even more. I like what the Vikings are doing in and now, just catching a couple of the broods. This base is going to end up denied, though. Minerals going down, SCV's going down over here. Now the Bio-Army shows up, we'll clean out the bottom left, which serral just established. He saves a few drones. souL is on 10 SCVs, though. His rebuild potential is basically Marines. He's got no gas left in the bank. These gases are ready to go, but he's only got 6 workers on the map, so it's not going to be easy. Serral has units down over here to fight as well, and it feels like we're seeing the final scraps of souL's army just slowly being kind of withered away at as Serral finally is going to start making a claim on this game. Look at the resources lost again. That will tell you the story right now. 66k to 61k. Finally, souL is trading worse than Serral, and that is going to be the resources lost that broke the camel's back, right? I mean, it is done. At this stage, souL cannot possibly find 5,000 resources to make up for this. And he's going to try anything possibly. Kind of love these drones. Like, right, you know, we're probably goners, but let's take more minerals away from the Terran. These are minerals that the Terran will never get a hold of. And they are minerals which will never come into play again. Again, serral going to lose a base here, but he has the bank to close this one out. souL does not. There's a hard-fought battle. A really hard-fought battle. But serral is going to win game number 1. This is how our day is going to be, guys. If this is just game number 1, then, you know, we're in for a bit of a day. We are in for a bit of a day, as you're going to be seeing the Bio-Army continue to fight. Clearing up a few broodlings. Yeah, we've got something special today, haven't we? Alright, guys. Roods are coming through and cleaning up, and this is going to be the final few shots going down. A couple fungals as well. Serral is going to clean up here on Lightshade. souL types out GG, and Serral is finally going to find game number 1 of this best of 3 series. So coming out victorious to start off in Group B. Top left-hand side of game number 2. Terran that put up such a fight. We are on Romanticide as well, so we might see something long and similar. Our blue Terran is souL. Up against the bottom right-hand side red Zerg from Ents, it is Serral. Game 2 of this best of 3 as we continue our way through the very first match of HomeStory Cup. XXL. I don't know what XXL is for. They never explained the XXL part to me, because we had HomeStory Cup 1, we had HomeStory Cup 2, and now we've got HomeStory Cup XXL. And now I don't. Is that HomeStory like? My best guess in Roman numerals is that is like a weird way of writing 30. I don't know. Maybe you guys in the chat know, but they never explained to me. I think, okay, that's a lie. I think Naruto said, he said something along the lines of, because it's going to be extra special. So it's going to be extra special. So there you go, guys. Extra special HomeStory Cup number 3. Yeah, I was kind of questioning this one myself, but you know what? You know what the great thing about being tournament organizers? You can actually name your tournament whatever you like. Well, within reason, but you want to call it XXL? You go ahead, guys. You know, next time we do a WardiTV event, I'm going to be like WardiTV XXZY 74L2. yeah. And then everyone will be like, what does XXY74L2 mean? I'll be like, oh, it's the extra. You're going to watch it, 74 hours of it, large, bracket Starcraft 2, WardiTV event, right? Like, yeah, makes perfect sense. Rolls off the tongue like a charm once you acronym it down. As you do see, souL is going to go triple CC. So may just try and play a long game again here. I mean, that's what Romanticide is obviously fairly well known for. If souL wants to play defensively, it is not easy for Serral to break him on this map at all. So we could absolutely be in for a longer game just like what we saw. We're going to put some damage out onto the hatchery. A few lings and a queen just out the front. Going to put some damage out. Just going to see the queen putting down a creep tumor. Overload speed, ling speed all on the way up right now. I'm just going to be seeing the again setup we told you about at the start of that last game. That overload speed, the investment that Serral will make to go into the scouting, right? Make sure that you're not going to die to something silly. Make sure you know what's going on early in the game. All that kind of stuff. We do have the stim packers on the way. The starport builds on the left-hand side, and it is, again, very passive opening from souL, right? Like, there's not much that really comes out of this at all. It's a faster 3cc than last game. Last game he did go 1-1-1, then the third cc. So went for a little bit of a different approach on that. Overlord from Serral gets pushed away up through the top side. Does Wardy not know what extra large means? Well, I mean, okay. I get it. But, like, then what's extra large about the tournament, right? That's like that was my first thoughts. It's the extra large stay-at-home story cup. With the exact same amount of players as the last one. The same prize money as the last one. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, like, that's why it didn't make sense. So that's why I thought maybe there's something more to it. Anyways, enough about tournament names and all of that. We do have the early game kind of passing by, so things are going to start getting a little bit more intriguing. We do have the first two medevacs built, and obviously they'll line up with stim. Right now, souL wants to try and protect these rocks from going down, because these are rocks which you'd love to siege up behind if you go for something of an aggressive push. So sieging up behind those and all of that kind of stuff can be very powerful. That's why Serral puts the effort into denying these rocks early in the game. It's just going to pick away at this rock. Oh, this set of rocks going to go down. I'm just going to be seeing... Oh, he saved it for a few moments, right? But the queens can finish it off as well if he'd like to. You know what? He's really eager not to use the queens to finish. He's like, these lings have put in the work. They deserve to be there when the rocks explode and the rubble downpours and crushes a couple of them. Poor zerglings. Alright, well, down the bottom side, Marines unloading and actually going to find an overload to start off with. Again, obviously, Serral's information has been pretty good throughout. He sees exactly what this follow-up is for now. Upgrades are down as well from souL, so nothing overly aggressive, which we sometimes see as these lings go wrapping around this set of rocks. And just, again, just clearing up space to make his bases a little bit more, you know, a little bit easier to hold on to. We're seeing this expansion pattern up the right-hand side. That's become extremely common on Romanda's side, taking the right side bases, and then later in the game coming down the bottom side. Just too easy to get into positions which are good on top of this base. You know, push down this left-hand side can be very difficult to flank and to clean up, so, you know, again, better to take that right-hand side, which is just much easier to control, especially in terms of creep. You can get creep out in front of it like he's already got here very easily, so now the Terran is going to struggle to find a way to attack into the fourth base. Alright, Marines, Hellions, join up together. I'm going to start pressing forward, perhaps, through the center here. Armory is about to finish up, and again, just a few units of souL still gathering up as well. Our Marines going to stem in, a couple creep teamers going down. And there's a few Banelings getting picked away at, so a few Banes going down as well. As Hellions morph into Hellbats in the center of the map. You see souL just unloading in the middle as well, so. And a few units out the front. Queens are going to come forwards and spread some creep out the front as well. So bring some creeps through this some queens through the center. Pretty, again, fairly passive overall, right? souL gonna go into drilling claws. But he's just kind of letting, it feels like I know he's not really letting Serral do what he wants, but, you know, it's more Serral is obviously defending his positions, but, you know, as you see all of this creep spread moving out, and Serral's just on 4 bases, 83 workers, I can't help but feel this game starts to go in a similar direction to last time. And I can't help but feel that, you know, it's just not enough from souL to kind of really get into a decent enough spot. Like I say, you can obviously draw the game out if you get into those later stages, but man, I mean, it's not like Serral was weak in that last game. It's not like there was an opening that souL's like, okay, maybe I can strike at this point, because Serral was just all around good in game number 1. Serral is actually flowing a bit of money right now. Does he have a structure down or anything? He does have a spire, so maybe about to make the Mutalisk investment, and he does. So Serral switching up his style. Playing into Lingbane Muta. As you just see Medivacs out down the bottom side. Lings and Bane's going to come through. These few depots are already taking some damage and going to start being pushed through. The Bane's coming in as well. These Widow Mines not really burrowed up or anything, so souL just takes a pretty bad fight. I mean, he loses all of his depots here. Look at the supply block. 170 out of 124. So he's heavily supply blocked. He loses a ton of his Widow Mines, doesn't really get any major connections. He's dropping the main base. Good target fire to take down a few Banes. That will buy him some time, but extra Banes are ready to go. And the problem is, lifting up and getting out of here ain't going to be easy when the Mutalisks are on top of you. One full Medivac goes down, the other, well, they unloads a few Marines. They don't get a Mutalisk kill, though. souL has just lost everything. This time, Serral is just all over souL. The attack across the map has been good. The cleanup on this drop has been good. Serral is looking as though he is going to march across this map to seeming victory, because that is a lot of units which souL just lost out on, and that is the sort of efficiency you don't really recover from at all. A couple SCVs down top side. Oh my god, these Banelings. Not only did they explode, but the splash damage of the mine, I think, killed the tank there in the end. I don't think the Banes killed the tank. I think the splash damage of the mine did. Everything from souL is just evaporating to anything that Serral throws his way. I think Serral could blow warm air at souL right now and something would blow up just accidentally. That's how this game seems to be going, as we do see, I mean, trying to rebuild bunkers. I don't want to know how long souL's been supply blocked for in this game. This is going to do his, you know, career statistics of supply block no favors at all. As Lings and Mutas come on through, Marines are going to be in some trouble. The Banes are continuing to move forward. Widow Mine goes off towards the Overseer. The Mutas are actually taking a beating right now. These few Marines are trading very well because of the Medivac support. Oh, did Serral overstep his boundaries? I'm going to say probably not, but of course, if this game was any closer to begin with, this was not a fight you would have ever taken. These Mutas just got obliterated. The Marines were just shredding through them with the Medivacs, making sure the Marines didn't go down. Made a pretty big difference as we see the Lingbane Muta force back around to the right side now, going through the center, thinking about which other direction to move into. The missile turret finishes up. The Sentinel's tower is now done out the front as well, and we do have the Mutalisks of Serral still making their way around the left. A hatchery on the front lines, and just seeing a few more Banelings about to finish up. Serral going to bring these forward and see where he can take them. See what he can do with this attack on the left-hand side, I guess. souL with double the sensor tower, so he gets double the vision here on the 4th base. He is actually going to get out to a 5th, right? And I mean, credit to him with how this game was setting up. I did not like it at all for souL, but he actually survived. He got some units back up, and he gets to draw it out to a later game, which is what we know souL kind of wants to do. Thor shot's pretty good, getting some damage onto these mutas, and mutas get chased away up to the top side. See a snipe coming down, and again the mutas obviously get pushed away from this. Just going to be seeing the Ling Bane once again. Going to come around the left-hand side. Bane's crash through, a couple bunkers go down. Thor's still holding the front lines, and going to be seeing still moving out to the left. Is going to take down a Zerglin, and command center can land here as a few more mules drop into play as well. Now the double command stand out the front. Mutas coming around the top side. Want to go diving in towards this main. Missile turrets 1 and 2 going down in the end. A couple of foes dropping in there as well. Just going to be seeing Lings and Banes moving forward. SCVs perhaps in a little bit of trouble also here. So SCVs get chased away, and Banes going to come through, crashing in. That's 27 workers killed in fairly quick succession. The Mutas escape out down the left side here as well. They're going to find, I say maybe the medevacs, but they were already boosting away. It is just souL having, well, not really enough overall, right? souL just keeps chucking units at him. I think souL at some point does just have to fall over and die. Penned in on 4 bases, right? And this was one of the things that happened in the last game. He got penned in on 4 bases. He eventually broke out to the 5th base. Now, that's what changed the last game from being like a 15-minute, game and done into like a 30-minute drawn-out warfare, because the 5th base gave him the time to get the 6th base. And, the game really changed at that point, but this time it feels like Serral is just having none of it, right? He's like, I do not want to go 30 minutes once again. I want to make sure you are done for in the relatively near future. As these ghosts and marines are fighting, these few Lings get turned away. A few snipes lining up across all of this Ling Bane. Wouldn't mind shot hits. A few of these Lings get taken down. The Ling Bane still continues through, and the Bioforce is in a little bit of trouble. Even more Banelings coming across the top side of the map. Up the left-hand side, the mutas are going to go into the main. Lings are coming through. The ghosts are going to be in trouble. They are going down, and, well, I mean, everything is dying here for souL. He's sub 100 supply, and like I said, Serral is having none of it this time around. Yeah, it takes 15 minutes, but that's much better than 30 minutes, and he does win this series 2-0 to put a start on this group of performance in Stay-at-Home Story Cup. Of course, he is looking to defend his 2-time Stay-at-Home Story Cup championship title as he starts